Welcome back to the Techno-Communism Conversation. I'm Yohanan Ben Zion, a voice crying out in the wilderness, crying out for a technological New Jerusalem. I gave this title something that's suggestive of bourgeois individualistic ideology, and I don't like that. It's also maybe not the most provocative of things, and the phrasing of it and the individualistic element is not good. But it is something that's actually on my mind as it relates to systems, as it relates to collectivization, as it relates to building a humane and sustainable world, which cannot be built without a humane and sustainable economic system. And so it's a reasonable question. I generally, in the last few years, when someone engages in this one particular bourgeois stratagem, tech people do this almost to a man. Technologists and tech bros, the tech-minded of the U.S. and West, people that I've interacted with to some degree, they do this almost to a man, and that is when confronted with the need to organize, collectivize, and fight to build a humane and sustainable world, which can only be built by building a humane and sustainable economic system. They say something like, well, I understand that this person is essentially a techno-fascist. This force is essentially techno-fascistic. But I think that they may be playing the long game. And when people say this, I block them, right? Even though I have said this, even the time when I started blocking people and the time when I stopped saying this is a separation of 6 months. So is that fair? Maybe not. But it does underscore the exigency of this situation of building this people's superintelligence before 2029, when we reach runaway overheating from capitalism's climate apocalypse, wherein in the decades to follow, Earth will become increasingly inhospitable to mammalian life to the degree that billions, if not all, of humankind will die. Neither of those things is an acceptable outcome. That must be prevented, and it's not prevented by this bottom dealing behavior of the tech bros and the technologists. There's a world of difference between the high profile technologist and the tech bro, right? The tech bro is mostly just a person who's, like your drunk Uncle Joe, right? Your drunk Uncle Joe at Thanksgiving, he says something fascistic, and you say, this guy, I'd kill him if I had a chance, right? But your drunk Uncle Joe doesn't actually have any power, except in the sense that everyone has some power in the ways that they're upholding fascist institutions and so forth. So killing him would provide only satisfaction to you, and it would not be a strategic imperative. On the other hand, almost every high-profile technologist is a person where, if they were no longer doing these bad things that they are doing, upholding financial capital and empire at the expense of human dignity, and more importantly, perhaps, material conditions of those people, and more importantly, perhaps still, the viability of an ecosystem. There is virtually no Western technologist of any who you would know by name, who's not precisely this kind of techno-fascist. You don't have to really do a radical analysis to come to this conclusion, right? Ask your chatbot. You can have Mistral chatbots on your smartphones now. You can have pretty reasonable offline chatbots even on your smartphones now. Ask your chatbot to list all of the technologists of note in the United States who are not supporting the murder of 500,000 Palestinian people in the last year, orchestrated by the fascist United States and its puppet state Israel. Ask them how many of those people are pro-Palestine and anti-fascist, anti-Zionists. They will hem and haw because there's virtually none. There's no famous person in the West practically who fits that description. The ones that do are pilloried wrongly, um, and the people, these PMC, forget about it. It might be a famous just celebrity who's not following the CIA agenda, but the PMC and the people suckling from the dar petite, the financial capitalists, there's no one even close, right? Like you like, there's this woman, Timmy Gebru, who I rather admire. Uh, she's not a scientific communist, though. In another context, this would be a person who I wouldn't maybe even really talk about. But just the fact that she worked for Google in a pretty professional lab, and then went on to say that Google shouldn't be um, this fascistic military contractor, that makes her a person of significance. Um, um, because there's no one. Um, uh, I guess I'll do a little bit of talk about some the state of um, new uses of large language model products, because I just mentioned that you can have offline chatbots of a reasonable strength on your smartphone now. And this is of interest because you should be, as an individual, uh, using products that are not imperialistic and fascistic, right? But one individual doing that, even some number of individuals doing that, is that of real interest? Maybe not. But the fact that this world is full of billions of people with devices of different kinds, not just PCs with GPUs